Okay, it is 12 noon, August 5th. It's a regular assembly meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. Will the clerk call the roll?
Mark,
Here.
Donna,
Here.
Thomas,
Here.
Rob, Rob, you're muted. If you could unmute and say again that you're here. Oh, I think he's frozen.
Frozen. No. Well, we'll move forward. and,
We'll come back. Bob,
Here.
Scott,
Here.
Jay,
Here. We have a full assembly if Assembly Member Sports can get back online. So it's now time for the voluntary Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next item on the agenda is I entertain a motion for approval of the minutes from the July 15th, 2024 Assembly meeting.
Make a move to approve the July 15, 2024 Assembly Meeting minutes.
Second. Favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item 4 on today's agenda, amendment and approval of today's meeting agenda. I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented if there are no amendments.
So move.
Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we will move forward with the agenda as presented. Now we have a few public hearings today. First public hearing is for ordinance 2024-14. This is an ordinance amending provisions of chapters 3.38, 3.40, and 3.76 of the Petersburg Municipal Code to establish the Public Works Director as the head of the Borough Water and Sewer Utilities and create an Assistant Public Works Director as an administrative officer of the borough. Is there anyone that would like to participate in this public hearing today? Second public hearing for today is on ordinance 2024-15. This is an ordinance amending section 14.20.280 of the Petersburg Municipal Code to clarify recoverable expenses from vessels impounded and disposed of from borough harbors. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to participate in this public hearing? None, we'll move forward. Item C, public hearing for ordinance 2024-16. This is an ordinance adjusting the fiscal year 2025 budget for known changes. I'd entertain, is there anyone interested in participating in this public hearing? Now we come to a public hearing on applications to purchase borough-owned tidelands located at 107A Dock Street. ID number 01-008-242. Island Refrigeration LLC and Pacific Rose LLC have both filed applications to purchase a tideland parcel located at that address at 107 Dock Street. Any public testimony regarding these tideland purchase applications should be given during this public hearing at the end of the public hearing. A copy of the Planning Commission reports, which include the land purchase applications, may be found under agenda item 15D on today's agenda. Borough Codes, section 16.16.070, sales of tidelands requires that at the public hearing, an applicant clearly demonstrate the benefits of sale of the subject tideland that could not be realized through leasing, and that outright sale of a tideland as contrasted with lease of the tideland is in the borough's best interest. And then we have Brock Snyder today from Island Refrigeration. He's the owner, shall present reasons for the LLC applying to purchase the tideland parcel and must demonstrate the benefits of sale that benefit the borough better than lease. So Mr. Brock. Mr. Snyder, I mean.
Thank you. I'm Brock Snyder, I own Island Refrigeration. Just wanted to tell you guys, thanks again for your support for the purchase of, it's now got an address, 111 Dock Street. It's that larger parcel, and also for extending my time to be able to purchase it. We now have approval from the bank to purchase that. And so the reason I applied for this parcel as well, 107A Dock Street, I sent an email to the assembly. I might just read that just to keep my thoughts together. I own Island Refrigeration. I'm writing to express my thanks for ongoing support and approving the direct sale of the adjacent property, 111 Dock Street, and granting us additional time. Your assistance has been invaluable in helping us establish our operations to serve the fleet and the community. We have ordered the steel building and have plans underway to install utilities and lay a slab, commencing as soon as the land is fully purchased and the permits from the fire marshal have been received. And we've hired a local architect to ensure that the building is compliant and that everything is done right. I'm just seeking your further support for our proposal to purchase the property adjacent to the one you've already approved for us, 111 Dock Street. This additional land is critical to our planning site layout, which includes the construction of a warehouse and a retail area adjoined to it that will significantly benefit our community. I've been trying to work with Tacoma Screw to become a distributor for that, just for all the parts and pieces that we use all the time here. That would benefit everyone as well. This project aims to build a warehouse and a retail area to help complete Island Refrigeration's overall business strategy. This development is essential for providing our services to the larger fishing vessels, which will bring substantial economic benefit to the borough while also allowing us to generate the necessary revenue to survive. And the construction phase will create immediate jobs, and the long-term operation of the warehouse and the retail area will offer enduring employment opportunities. Additionally, the retail area is aimed to provide more supplies to the fleet that are not already provided by other businesses so as not to decrease their revenue, increasing economic activity and providing more options for local fishermen and land-based consumers alike. Some of these particularly are the stock of steel, stainless steel and aluminum, Schedule 80 PVC, and fittings of larger sizes. You can get 4-inch in town here, but not 6-inch or 8-inch. Those are things that are in the fish holds of a lot of boats. And stainless fittings of larger sizes. We need these for our own operations, but many come to us purchasing these materials for their own projects. These products are much needed, and this usage would allow the property to be used year-round. And I just wanted to emphasize that this usage, we would be open and available to be used all year round, not just for winter storage. The borough and the community stand to gain significantly from this project. Our investment includes bringing utilities and locations to these and assuming responsibility of the easement leading to the property. So we'd be taking over the expense of that. We've already agreed to that. The presence of our planned operations will also boost local businesses as these vessels utilize our community's restaurants and stores and other services. Also, the increase in large fishing vessels coming to town will result in a higher usage fees for the borough's docks and moorage facilities. The retail area will contribute to local sales tax revenues and the improved property will increase property tax revenues to the borough as well. One concern that I have is that if the sale is opened up for public auction and sealed bid, which seems like it's more of an option now since we have more than one applicant, and I could be wrong, I was speaking with Debbie, that if you open up for public bid or sealed bid, public auction, that it opens it up to anyone and everyone. There's no limitation. It's not limited to the people who have applied. And that scares me. Like I would almost rather withdraw my application than to open it up to that, because you here on the assembly are representing our local community, but it wouldn't be limited to just our local community that would have access to it. And very carefully, which you guys showed, that you make decisions based on an individual basis. And so that's why I'm very leery to proceed. I would rather that Bill got the land through direct sale and that we know him, and then to open it up so that there's this potential for it just going to some unknown business, and also with it not having that zoning overlay fully implemented, that just puts a big question mark, like someone could sneak in and just put anything there before that's really in effect. So I'm not in a rush on this. I do have in our loan application, this piece of land is in there at full appraised value for us to purchase it at that value. So it's in our plan if you guys approve that. But so I just want to make it very clear that I want this to benefit the community. I want, like, we're here to serve the community and benefit the community. And if it looks like it's not going to benefit the community, or I'm not sure that, I don't want to be responsible for opening it up so that somebody could just nab it. So anyway, those are my concerns and my request. I appreciate your support once again, and I know that you guys will, if there's more time needed to discuss this and plan this, I'm not in a rush. We're thankful for the piece of property that we have presented to us already, and we have lots of work to do on that. So I don't want you to feel like this needs to be decided now. If we need to wait for the zoning overlay, we need to wait for a better plan. I'm totally for that. But at the same time, if we were able to somehow move forward with a direct sale, I would be on board and ready for that. So thank you and appreciate your work.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Snyder, for your presentation today. And under this public hearing, it's now time for Bill Manish, owner of Pacific Rose LLC. He shall present the reasons for the LLC applying to the purchase and tied land parcel, and must demonstrate the benefits of the sale instead of leasing the land. And I don't see Mr. Manish in the room. And has he zoomed in, Clerk Thompson?
He has not.
Okay, well, that part of the public testimony is over then. Now it's time for the public testimony. Of any members of the public may provide their testimony regarding the Island Refrigeration LLC and Pacific Rose LLC applications to purchase parcel 01008-242. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to participate in this public hearing? There are no bid awards today. And that brings us to item 7 on the agenda, which is persons to be heard related to items on today's agenda. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on items related to today's agenda? Forward to persons to be heard on items unrelated to today's agenda. Is there anyone that would like to speak on items unrelated to today's agenda? Move to item 9, boards, commission, and committee reports. There are none today. There's also no items under the consent agenda. That brings us to item 11 on today's agenda, and that's report of other officers. And the first one listed there is Petersburg Medical Center CEO, Mr. Hofstetter.
Hi. Good afternoon, Phil Hofstetter, Petersburg Medical Center CEO. I submitted my written report. A few highlights from my report. July 27th was the PMC Foundation's annual fundraiser, the paddle battle. We raised over $17,000 for that event, which was great. I want to thank all the effort from the community and sponsors for that event. We had about 53 participants in both the bike and kayak event, or kayak paddling event. So that goes towards education, supporting scholarships in the community, both with high school and community members as well. So really good showing there. Representative Peltola will be here this weekend, and she reached out to our facility for a site tour. So looking forward, we're on standby to be available for that. We're hoping, and along those lines, I want to thank Assemblymember Marsh and Stan Greger for coming to our first site tour, and we'll be holding those every Friday afternoon or at 5:30. If we have a good list, we'll get that out to the community as well. So we had our second tour on Friday, and we're hoping to open that up to the community as well. So, any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. From a financial aspect, the big highlight is we did end FY '24 on a positive. We were roughly around 1 million in the positive this year, which is great after coming out of COVID. The past 4 years have been very, very challenging. So staff has been working very hard. We managed our expenses real well. We had a substantial number of grants, so all these things pay off in the end. From a workforce standpoint, lots of turnover we've had in the last 2-3 years. Seems to be stabilizing. We're down to a more normal, and I put that in quotes, level for 18%. And we're working hard to stabilize that for this year as well. Keep some sustainability. We do have a new physician starting, Dr. Morgan, which our group is excited to build that out and improve some of our access to care in the clinic. From the facility standpoint, we had Arcadis, which is our owner's rep for project management of our new facility, came down, and we did a site tour of our existing facility. And so the big things that I asked was to evaluate the core components from the 2015 report that were sort of end of life at that point. And so my concern is that the runway for those components keeps getting shorter the longer we wait, or those core components don't get upgraded, which require code upgrades, and it's pretty substantial. So again, they're still sort of that ticking time bomb I'm concerned about. There's definitely some concern from the project manager standpoint and the facility and our facility manager. So keep you updated on that. It is what it is, and we're doing our best to maintain that. Again, the site tours for that existing facility, if the community wants tours of our existing facility, I encourage that as well. It's one thing to see the long-term care and the inpatient, which appear institutional, but maybe they get by the exterior, but the plant and the heating, all the core components with electrical loads and the sewer, the sewer is probably the big one that I'm concerned about, because the pipes are cast and they're embedded into the concrete within the floor and the subfloor. So I'm happy to provide that, and Wolf, our plant manager, is available as well. We did make the Senator Murkowski appropriations list. Very, very grateful. We heard this week, both Steve forwarding that, thank you, and from Murkowski's office for continuing building our funding stack of 3 million. So, I want to thank Murkowski's office for supporting the project. From a patient standpoint, we had our Orca Camp, a kayaking expedition, 12 youth from the facility. It's one of our grant-supported programs, really great outcome. It's just amazing to have our youth participate in this multi-day expedition, very successful. It's a good opportunity for health and wellness of our youth. And then lastly, probably telehealth is growing quite a bit. We have some wound care from our physical therapist, Caitlin DeRoss, who has left us, but is working remotely a little bit on a part-time basis. We also have Dr. Hires taking a leave of absence, working on some of our telehealth, which is in the paper this week. So some good things there. We've been very busy in our facility. Right now, between long-term care on the floor, we have 20 patients and residents, and it's been very, very challenging the last couple of weeks as well. Very busy. So any questions?
Question for Mr. Hofstadter. See none. Thank you, Mr. Hofstadter, for your report. A, report of other officers. B, municipal election report. Clerk Thompson has provided a written report outlining the open board seats and propositions that will be on this year's municipal election ballot. Would you care to go over that, Clerk Thompson?
That would be up to you, Mayor.
Would you do that, please?
Certainly. We do have 14 positions that will be open at the election, all 3-year terms from every board that we have. Most of the boards have 2 seats open. Parks and Recreation and Public Safety Board have each have one seat open. And we have 4 propositions this year. Proposition number 1 will decide whether the borough should issue the general obligation bonds in a total principal amount not to exceed $3.5 million to finance majority maintenance needed at our public school facilities, including roof replacement, repair, security and safety features and upgrades and related capital improvements. Proposition number 2 will decide if the borough should increase the maximum amount of a transaction that is subject to the borough's 6% sales tax from $1,200 to $5,000, thus increasing the maximum sales tax due from $72 to $300. Proposition number 3 will decide if the borough should increase the transient room tax rate, which is collected from persons staying in a local hotel, motel, or other lodging for fewer than 30 days, from 4% to 7%. Transient room tax proceeds are used to fund visitor-related marketing, infrastructure, and services. And then proposition number 4 will decide if the borough may incur long-term indebtedness in the form of loans from the Alaska Department of Environmental Conservation in a total principal amount not to exceed $19,300,000 to fund capital projects for the water and wastewater utilities. I have begun, when I wrote I have not completed. I have begun my search for election officials, have not completed it. I still have open slots. So if anyone out there in the public is willing to serve as an election official on October 1st, please give me a call. My direct number, 907-772-5405.
Thank you, Clerk Thompson.
Thank you.
Now it brings us to the mayor's report, and there's not much on the mayor's report, but we're filing for candidacy for the October 1st, 2024 municipal election. The filing period to run for an assembly board or commission seat for the Petersburg Borough began on July 23rd and ends at 4:30 p.m. on August 20th, 2024. Paperwork to file for candidacy is available on the borough website or at the front desk of the municipal building. Please consider serving our community by running for one of the 14 seats up for election. All seats have 3-year terms. Assembly, there's 2 seats, school board, 2 seats, hospital board, 2 seats, planning commission, 2 seats, harbor advisory board, 2 seats, library board, 2 seats, parks and recreation advisory board has 1 seat, as well as the public safety advisory board. And to date, there's been 3 people put in the paperwork for these 14 positions. So you're running out of time. It's please serve your community. And now it's time for the manager's report.
Thank you, sir. We should be receiving our new time clock system this week for assisted living. And our Medicaid renewal is almost complete at that facility as well. We have some openings. We have 1 swing shift and 3 overnight shifts to fill at assisted living. And Derek's been working with FEMA as well as some other folks on our emergency food supplies, which is one of the requirements that we keep up there. Basically, we will not have to buy emergency food for the next 24 years. We evidently accumulated a bunch over the years. And we won't have to buy water anymore as well. We still have to get snacks every year, but this will save us thousands of dollars every year. So congratulations to him and his team for looking into it. We will unfortunately be having a discussion with several residents at assisted living and their power of attorney about having to leave the facility. They need more of a specialty facility to properly take care of them, and that's beyond our skill level. A reminder, the diesel fuel adjustment charge has been calculated to be 1.3 cents per kilowatt hour for usage during the SEPA maintenance shutdown in June. This adjustment was on the utility bills at the end of July. The annual dam safety inspection with FERC engineers and our contracted chief dam safety engineer went very well. No major issues were identified during the inspection. Power and Light is working with Hammer and Wecon to update the electrical service to the hardware store. And Eric Larson has started as our Power and Light new powerhouse mechanic and operator and is coming up to speed quickly. Power and Light is fully staffed and the new operator training is ongoing. Reminder for our water system customers to fill out the lead service line inventory survey that went out in the June utility bills. If customers have any questions, please contact the Water Department at 907-772-4760. Our Pump Station 4 Force Main project is at 95% plans and specifications. We're scheduling a design review meeting with the engineering team prior to advertising for bids on the project. We must also complete property transfer deeds with the Swanson family. Wastewater discharge permitting, we're still waiting for the EPA report and draft permit to the borough so we can take a look at it. The library has received a $10,000 grant from the Institute of Museum and Library Services. Since 2005, this grant has been awarded annually thanks to a partnership with Petersburg Indian Association. The funds are used to purchase material for library collection. Martin and his crew are installing new fencing around the green field at the baseball complex. This project is replacing the existing fence in the backstop and dugout areas, as well as installing fence around the outfield, which hadn't had fencing in many years. Petersburg Little League received a grant that is paying for the project materials, and Public Works supplying the labor and equipment. We took delivery of the borough's replacement hearse, a 2021 Chevrolet Suburban, in consultation with the local mortuary service provider. The motor pool crew is retrofitting the vehicle with a hearse hardware kit so it will be properly configured to serve in its new role. We've had some ongoing misperceptions on recyclables, so we're going to start a public education campaign to help keep our customers and the general public informed about our local recycling program. Norton Corrosion inspected the cathodic protection system on our water storage tank. This is an annual inspection of the tank's corrosive protection system. No major issues were noted. Fishing season is well underway. Plant is producing approximately 1.7 million gallons of water per day. This is in line with the normal midsummer production levels of 1.5 to 2 million gallons, and much less than the max production capability of the plant, which is 4 million. One of our two variable frequency drives at the Scow Bay pump station failed. A new drive was ordered and repairs have been made. The failed drive will be sent out for possible rebuild, and if rebuildable, were retained as a spare. An EPA compliance officer conducted an inspection at the wastewater plant on July 29th. This is a routine inspection that takes place every 2 to 3 years and focuses on wastewater plant operations and testing. Although we do not have the results in hand, based on feedback from the compliance inspector, we believe the inspection went well. Thanks to wastewater supervisor Justin Haley for keeping everything shipshape at the wastewater plant. PD is scheduling community-based crisis response training. This training will be held in Petersburg in mid to late March in 2025. Current plan is to invite all community members, so law enforcement, dispatchers, mental health, school counselors, hospital staff, local psychologists, and others who would be first point of contacts or involved in assisting or identifying a person in crisis. We've been busy running our swimming lessons up at Parks and Rec for the past month with much appreciation from the community. We have several open positions at Parks and Rec, 2 custodians and a groundskeeper. We did hire a maintenance technician last week who will begin in a couple of weeks. Still a few openings in our youth volleyball camp. Stop in at Parks and Rec for more information and registration. And youth basketball registration is open, but volunteers are still needed for coaching and refereeing. Small incentive for those interested. Probably Stephanie providing you lunch or something. Yeah, we'll have to ask her. Practices begin the first week of September. Check with Parks and Rec for more information. And that's it on my report.
Are there any questions of the manager from his report? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to unfinished business. First item there is ordinance 2024-12, an ordinance providing for the submission to the qualified voters of Petersburg Borough the question of the issuance of not to exceed $3,500,000 of general obligation bonds to pay costs for public school capital improvements in the borough at the regular election held on October 1st, 2024. This is the third and final reading. I'd entertain a motion to approve this ordinance.
So move.
Second.
Made by member Lenz, seconded by member Marsh. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk call the roll?
Thomas,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Rob,
Are you with us, Rob?
He did text me and say his service was going in and out and he was gonna try to at least listen. So if he doesn't unmute, I would say we don't count it. Okay, Scott,
Yes.
Mark?
Rob texted me and said yes.
Oh, good, okay. Perfect. And Mark,
Yes.
thank you.
Want me to text you that? Okay, that ordinance passes in its third and final reading. Ordinance 2024-13 is the next item for action, and this is
Can
an
you-
ordinance
can you
authorizing
hear me now?
long-term indebtedness.
Yes, we got you, Rob, thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, ordinance 2024, this is an ordinance authorizing long-term indebtedness and an amount not to exceed $19.3 million for the design and construction of water and wastewater infrastructure in the borough, and directing that this matter be submitted to the voters for consideration at the next regular election to be held on October 1st, 2024. This is also the third and final reading. I'd entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance in its third and final reading.
So move.
Been made by Member Marsh. Was there a second from Member Newman, I believe? Any discussion? One thing I'd like to say, if there's anybody listening, that you could get a 1.5% loan for a 20-year period. So it's not free money, but it's about as close as you could get. So if there's no other discussion, will the clerk please call the roll?
Scott,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay. Next ordinance up for its second reading is ordinance 2024-14. This is an ordinance amending provisions of chapters 3.38, 3.40, and 3.76 of the Petersburg Municipal Code to establish the Public Works Director as the head of the borough water and sewer utilities, and to create an assistant Public Works Director as an administrative officer of the borough. Entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance in its second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made by Member Stanton Gregor, seconded by Member Lynn. Any discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Rob,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
thank you.
Passes unanimously, and it's second reading, I believe?
Yes.
Yeah. Next item, ordinance 2024-16, an ordinance adjusting the fiscal year 2025 budget for known changes. This is the second reading. If adopted in three readings, this ordinance will authorize purchase or transfer money in the harbor department, and this has to do with the derelict vessels. So for details, if you want, you could look at our agenda items. So I'd entertain a motion to approve this ordinance in its second reading.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion been made by Member Marsh, seconded by Member Stanton Gregor. Any discussion? Member Lynn?
Yes, thank you. I looking at the amount that that was put in here, I believe it was $200,000 or $300,000. In my mind, taking that out of reserves and so forth is not sustainable in the long run. So I agree with doing something with derelict vehicles. That isn't the issue in my mind. But if this is going to continue as part of that ordinance, how are we going to deal with this in the future? Who's going to pay for it? What does it come out of? Because this is, even though it says in the ordinance we looked at that the costs are totally responsible of the individual who owns a vessel. There's still going to be costs involved with this, I think, in the future. Because there's going to be times when the person's not going to be able to pay. So I think there needs to be an ordinance that goes along with this. Are the harbor users' fees going to be increased to pay for this? Is this going to come out of the general fund in the future? What are we going to do with it? I know we don't have either Go here today or can answer some of these questions, but I think on the third reading, I'd like to hear some response to some of these questions. Thank you.
Manager Giesbrecht, you have some
Sure,
input?
I can partially answer some of it. Assemblymember Lynn is correct. We don't have a revenue source to offset these expenses. We've handled a lot of these in the past just as they come up, which is not a great way to do business, but it's just how it has been. We have started the conversation about what are the possibility of, an offset, something. We have no idea where to put it, whether it's general fund or harbor mortgage rates or, something else. I mean, so we haven't gotten very far on that issue, but it is actually being discussed. As far as how do we handle this, when you have vessels and the cost to get rid of them is very expensive, so.
So Clerk Thompson, is there an ordinance being drafted that addresses the derelict vessels?
Actually, that is ordinance 15, and ordinance 16 is the adjusting the budget one. Yeah.
But the person, the last registered owner is technically liable if they have the financing, or their estate.
Well, correct, depending upon how the vessel is owned, according to our attorney. If it's, yes, depending on how it's owned. It's all
Moving target.
it's all state and federal law, though. And so we have whatever rights are provided to a municipality for this kind of thing under state and federal law.
Is there any other discussion on this ordinance? The budget adjustment. Clerk, call the roll.
Jay,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes. Okay, that brings us to new business on today's agenda, and the first item there is Assistant Public Works.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mark, we still have ordinance 2416 to go. That was just 2415.
I thought we were just discussing that. Okay, so.
Sorry.
Ordinance 2416, this is an ordinance adjusting the fiscal year 2025 budget for known changes. This is the second reading. If adopted in 3 readings, this ordinance will authorize $240,000 to be transferred from the Harbor Department Reserve to the derelict boat disposal budget item, increasing the total amount budgeted to $250,000. 2, transfer $4,000 from the general fund contingency to a ballot proposition information budget item to disseminate information on the ballot propositions regarding the maximum sales tax exemption and transient room tax rate. 3, add the revenue of $232,965 and expenses $153,418 for 2 electrical line extension jobs into the budget. The Assembly unanimously approved this ordinance in its first reading. I'd entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance in its second reading.
Second.
Motion been made by Member Newman, seconded by Member Marsh. Is there any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Bob,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Scott, Thomas,
Yes.
Jay, Mark,
Yes.
Donna.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that ordinance passes unanimously again. This next item is Assistant Public Works Director hire. Manager Giesbrecht and Public Works Director Cotta request approval to hire Aaron Morrell, the borough's current sanitation supervisor, for the position of Assistant Public Works Director beginning Monday, August 19th, 2024, at an annual base salary of $91,520. I'd entertain a motion to approve this request.
So moved.
Motion been made by Member Lynn, and I'll take Member Stanton Gregor's motion as a second. Discussion, Member Stanton Gregor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this one, I'll obviously be voting yes, and I'm assuming this will be approved. And I just wanted to thank Mr. Morrell for his efforts through the borough. He's been consistently putting out high-quality work for a long time, and I'm excited for him and his new opportunity. So an early congratulations, Aaron. Thanks.
Discussion or input? I'll just have some clarification from the manager. I talked to him earlier today. So what this will do is, change, the Public Works Department. And in the future, we will be advertising for a power and light supervisor as well. So there will be some changes, and we talked about that and we have to advertise for it and who knows what we'd have to pay
Yeah, I can.
to retain somebody.
So, you know, Carl's here with us. It's something like that? Give or take? Okay. So that'll be a conversation when we get into next year's budget development and when do we want to start looking for Carl's replacement? And there's gonna be some, you know, how long is it gonna take? What do we want to pay? A lot of those conversations will, I think, occur in next year's budget process. And we'll be looking for somebody that's got experience in power and light. And we'll try to get them on board before Carl leaves, but at the same time, we can't spend too much money. So it's gonna be a little bit of guesswork on how long it'll take to recruit somebody and get them in and, you know, help take over for Carl. So we'll have a lot of conversation probably this year as we put the budget together to talk about that.
Thank you for the clarification on
Yep.
that. Any other discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Donna,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Jay, Mark,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Item B, pump station four and force main replacement project, bid and construction phase support. Utility Director Hagerman requests approval to amend the P and D design contract for the pump station four project to include task 11, bid phase support, and task 12, construction phase support for the total increase of $103,352.90. This amendment is accounted for in the project and will cover costs for the design team to respond to questions received from bidders, issue addenda to the bid package if needed, and offer a recommendation on the award of the contract. The amendment also provides for construction administration and inspection during the construction phase of the project. I'd entertain a motion to approve this request.
So move.
Second. Motion been made by Member Marsh, seconded by Member Newman. Discussion. Clerk, call the roll.
Rob,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Scott, Jay,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
That project. Next item, C, Petersburg Municipal Power and Light Vehicle Replacement, Unit 99 Material Handler, and Unit 102 Digger Derrick. Public Works Director Cotta and Electric Utility Director Hagerman recommend approval to purchase a new Altec AM 55 material handler for $270,079 under the approved budget of $350,000, and a new Altec D306 3060H TR digger for $355,234 under the approved budget of $375 from Global Rental Company Incorporated for a total amount not to exceed $625,313. The vehicles will be paid from Petersburg Municipal Power and Lights Motor Pool reserves. Entertain a motion to approve this purchase.
So move.
Second.
Motion been made by Member Marsh, seconded by Member Stanton Gregor. Any discussion? Member Marsh.
So for clarification, these vehicles are on the schedule to be replaced? Is that how we're looking at this, or is this an updated early replacement?
Mr. Cotta, can you answer that?
Yeah, these vehicles are scheduled to be replaced. Both units have actually been extended multiple times. So we've gotten, I believe it's about 5 additional years of extra life out of each one. And, yeah, they're both having, control issues and corrosion issues at this point. So it's a good time to do a replacement. But yes, we've far exceeded the original service life of both.
Thank you.
So I have a question also for you, Mr. Cotta. What happens to the old vehicles that get retired?
They're going to be auctioned and probably online, since there, may not be much of a local market for these things. We'll probably try to cast the net a little wider. And then any revenue we get from those sales will be put back into the Power and Light motor pool reserves.
Any other discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Jay,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Thomas, Donna,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes,
Rob.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda, D, under new business, Island Refrigeration LLC and Pacific Rose LLC applications to purchase borough-owned tide land parcels 01-008-242 located at 107A Dock Street. We had the public hearing earlier. Mr. Brock Snyder from Island Refrigeration gave his presentation, why he thinks it would be better to have this land sold instead of continue leasing it. The other applicant, Mr. Manish from Pacific Rose LLC, did not participate in the public hearing. Borough Code says leasing preference states the orderly development of the borough with due consideration toward ocean resource harvesting, economic development, public recreation, and public service centers, combined with dwindling municipal revenues and limited land available for public purposes, support a strong preference toward leasing land versus outright sale of land. Then the sale of tide lands, this is Borough Code 16.16.070 states, in isolated and necessary instances, the assembly may sell tracts of tide and submerged lands which are not needed for public purposes, and sales of tide submerged land shall be made for consideration less than the assessed full and true value as established by the borough assessor, and the assembly shall hold a public hearing to consider the disposal of the tide lands. We've done that. And at the hearing, the benefits of the sale of tide land that could not be realized through leasing, and the applicant goes through the process that we did today. So for Borough Code, section 16.12.080E, the assembly shall determine whether either or both applications should move forward in the application process or be denied. If either or both applications are to move forward, the assembly shall then decide whether to schedule a public sale, either by outcry auction or sealed bid, or to exempt the disposal from public sale and proceed by direct negotiations. If the application and disposal are exempted from public sale, the assembly may authorize the borough manager to commence negotiations for disposal, the final terms of which are subject to approval by the assembly. So the purpose of this agenda item, the assembly shall satisfy the requirements of 1 and 2 above. If the assembly chooses to move forward with a sale, a resolution to approve the application moving forward in the manner determined by the assembly will be drafted, for the August 19th, 2024 assembly meeting. So, I would entertain a motion for the assembly to decide how they want to proceed with this, land sale. It's been requested by 2 different entities.
I'll throw one out there and see where it goes. I would make a motion to engage in a direct sale with Brock Snyder at Island Refrigeration LLC, if I got it right, my apologies. Yep, to engage in a direct sale to Mr. Snyder.
Second.
Second.
Motion's made by member Stanton Gregor, seconded by member Fine Walsh to go to a direct sale to Island Refrigeration with owner, Brock Snyder. Member Stanton Gregor.
Yeah, I
discussion.
figured since I laid it out there, I'll give out my logic. Couple of reasons. One is that Mr. Snyder demonstrated, I think clearly, given the financing of bank for purchase as opposed to lease, that he cannot realize his needs through leasing. I think he made a compelling argument that his business expansion would be in the borough's best interest for both the fleet and the community itself. So I think those 2 criteria pieces are met. And given that during the public hearing, we did not hear anything from the other applicant, one way or another, I was a bit leery of that application anyway, wondering how, why sale to that particular one would be better realized if not, instead of just continuing the lease. So no compelling argument was made on the opposing application. So that is my logic of moving forward on that. Part of me, I was looking at the idea of potentially postponing this till the marine overlay is done. But I think with this particular applicant, it doesn't need to be. I agree with what Mr. Snyder said earlier, and Clerk Thompson, as always, correct me if I'm wrong, but had gone to outcry auction, the purchaser didn't need to have anything to do with marine industry. I could, you know.
That is true,
Yeah, hotel,
as it's currently
concrete
zoned.
plant, whatever, yeah.
Yes.
And as we were discussing, months ago, really wanting to keep our waterfront, property. So anyway, there's my logic, and I'd be open to what everyone else has to say.
Member Lynn.
Thank you. I'm going to take an alternative view to this, is that nothing in the reading that I had says we have to make a decision right now. We went forward with a while back, and I firmly believe we made a mistake. And we asked for the overlay to be done. We asked for the zoning to be redone and to look at. My understanding is we're very close to having that done and to bring it before us. There's nothing there that says 3 or 4 months later that we, that this decision still can't come back to the table when more details are there. And I haven't seen the ordinance and the proposal, but I would really like to before I agree to sell land. The second part of my reasoning is that I didn't see anything on this that says that we have to sell this land for the purposes intended. In my view, it could be leased. And so I think that also needs to be looked at. Number 3 is that I think the proponents, even though they've agreed to put this into the contract, I think it'd be much stronger both for the borough and for the proponents if we had passed the overlay and the ordinance that goes associated with it at some time in the future, rather than to make that sale today. So I'm going to vote no for those reasons. Thank you.
Any other input? Member Marsh?
Thank you. I also would like to postpone this until we have the marine overlay in place, because I think it solidifies the borough's position. And Mr. Snyder has presented a very strong case, which I appreciate all the information he's been so forthcoming with, to lay out his plan to us. And I did also entertain the suggestion of, could not this parcel be leased rather than sold? So I think with the marine overlay, it might give us a little more direction. And again, I would like to err on the side of caution on this. So I will be voting no.
Member Von Walsh?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't really see any reason to wait. I mean, I think what we're doing with the marine overlay, and, updating the code here for the sale of these tideline properties is great, but I mean, we've already decided on the vast majority of the property here is going to Island Refrigeration LLC. There's a tiny little corner here that is still part of the borough, and it doesn't seem, it seems unreasonably difficult for the business owner to have to rent a small portion of their parcel and have like part of their building on rented property and part of their building on their property. I feel like that would create a lot of complications with your financing. And I think that is a reality. I think it's important to recognize that, renting property really changes the type of business you're able to operate on it and how you're able to operate that business, because your access to financing is different. I agree, as Member Stan Greger mentioned, Mr. Manish pointed out that he's able to finance the construction of a shed himself, whether he rents the property or not. And that's great, but I don't think that applies to a business like Island Refrigeration LLC that has, kind of grander ambitions of expansion. I think financing there is going to be a lot more attainable when you own the property. And I also think it's, important to look at this as an opportunity to encourage development on the Petersburg waterfront. I think in giving Island Refrigeration the tools it needs to develop to the extent that it really wants to, you know, we have an opportunity to use a piece of waterfront that's already developed to perhaps, you know, in the future, develop additional waterfront facilities that I think we're kind of lacking. For instance, the type of facilities we might use someday to have a travel lift, for instance, in town. I think that's a facility we could really use. And this piece of land, I think, would be a really great location for that. If we have, you know, somebody renting and putting kind of a backwards facing, you know, business, maybe there's a demand for it for skiff owners, but that might really kind of curtail what Island Refrigeration LLC is able to do with that piece of waterfront, which I think could be really transformative for our harbor system here in town. So I don't want to kind of foreclose on that option. And, you know, Mr. Schneider's really been patient. Like, this process has taken a very long time. So I think we kind of, you know, I think if we have the option to make a decision now, we should. I think we have all the information before us to make an informed and reasonable decision here. So I kind of support the motion.
Any other discussion?
Member
Comment.
Newman. Yeah, this little parcel had come up before, and there was a little snafu, I guess, with the application process, and so that allowed this other Pacific Rose to come in and make an application. So then we got to decide, you know, based on the criteria of the benefit of a leasing versus selling, and by lack of a public hearing from the Pacific Rose that, and Brock Snyder's application or public hearing today, you know, he's demonstrated before through the bank process, through the loan requirements that, you know, for leasing land versus purchasing it outright, that he proved that was a requirement. So in my opinion, he's the only one that is credible, I guess, for moving forward and actually with the sale of this small parcel of property. When I hear the members' reasoning for waiting, you know, this is a small parcel of property. We already have made a decision to sell him this other larger piece. And so I'm not really seeing the benefit to waiting and any longer and hindering the process of him moving forward with construction. So I, you know, we've made the decision. It's in the best interest of the borough with our previous decision. So to hinder it now is, in my opinion, not in the best interest of the community or the. So I will be voting for this, and I wish him well.
Any other input? Member Schwartz, are you with us still?
Yeah, can you hear me?
You're a little bit faint, but we could turn it up here. You have the floor.
Well, Mr. Snyder himself said that there's no hurry on this. There's no hurry. He says there's no rush to this. So I could see Tom's point and Scott's and Jay's as well, but I'm hesitant to do it at this time, just vote yes at this time, okay? I can see both sides of this, but even Mr. Snyder himself said there's no need to rush this, okay?
Okay. Yeah, I've had a conversation with the clerk, and the first piece of property that the borough, the assembly decided to sell to Island Refrigeration and Brock Snyder, there was a clause in there that he agreed to that said when this umbrella zoning goes into effect, that would apply to the property that he's buying. So, you know, like other assembly members have said, we've already sold him a big piece of property. I, you know, trust both applicants. I trust Mr. Snyder. If we decide to sell him this piece of property, today that, you know, he will abide by the umbrella zoning when it comes into effect. But then on the other hand, I kind of feel like maybe if there is no rush, maybe we should wait to make sure we have the ordinances passed and the zoning that creates this umbrella, marine umbrella policy on the, you know, waterfront land. So, I guess, you know, it could go, I could vote either way at this point. So, waiting might not hurt. And I believe Clerk Thompson, isn't there ordinances and zoning being drafted right now or drafted, just waiting to be presented to us?
I'm not sure that it's completely finalized, but yes, we have an ordinance coming before you with the marine zoning overlay district, and then also an ordinance coming before you to amend chapter 1616, which is the sale of tidelands.
In which none of those ordinances, the way they're drafted, to your knowledge, would affect us in the future to move forward with a direct sale to
Correct,
either entity.
correct.
Okay. So the motion on the floor is to direct sale this land to Island Refrigeration LLC with the owner Brock Snyder. So we've all given our testimony. Is there any other input before I ask the clerk to call the roll?
So we would be voting on the direct sale to Brock Snyder with the caveat that the marine overlay will be attached to it.
Yes.
So if we vote no, then what are we voting on? What do we?
Go back to the drawing board.
We have to go back to the drawing board, make another motion to either pause, like the email from Clerk Thompson, we got yesterday or day before, said it was an option. So right now we're voting whether we're gonna direct sale this parcel 107A Dock Street to Brock Snyder and LLC and Island Refrigeration LLC. So clerk, call the roll.
Mark,
Yes.
Donna,
No,
Thomas,
Yes.
Rob, try again, Rob, please.
No.
No, thank you. Bob,
No,
Scott,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Okay, so we have agreed to go to a direct sale to Brock Snyder with Island Refrigeration LLC for parcel 107A Dock Street. Communications, we have a list of communications, we don't read them. Generally, but the one communications that here, have we done anything with NOAA fisheries? With this, I'm gonna go over this communication because it's important, I feel, to the community, not that others aren't, but this Nicole Kimball from NOAA, I believe, just wanted to touch base in case Petersburg would consider a comment to NOAA on their evaluation to determine whether to list Gulf of Alaska Chinook salmon under the Endangered Species Act. The deadline for comment is September 6th, and it can be submitted as an email or attached letter to this portal. Alaska residents, fisheries and non-fisheries businesses and industries could be significantly affected by such a listing, and there are no scientific data we are aware of that warrants the population level risk to Gulf Chinook. We just wanted to try to get the word out since public comment makes a difference. I've attached the PSPA letter we submitted in early July and a short ADF&G backgrounder on the issue. So I would, you know, I could address it on the assembly members, comments, but I would like to see us draft some kind of a letter opposing this. So that's the only communication I saw. That brings us to assembly discussion items, assembly member comments. I just made mine about Noah, so any other comments? Seeing none. Recognitions, are there any recognitions by assembly members or staff? Motion to adjourn.
Moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 We are officially adjourned.
Thank you.
So Mark, I knew you were gonna be voting first on that last one. Anytime when I feel like if you're unsure which way you're gonna vote, your name gets called first.